Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. I have a treat for you today. We are building, and not only are we building, we're building a starter home. I love building starter homes. They're a lot of fun and they don't take forever, which is sometimes that's nice. I mean, sometimes you want to get immersed in a build and you want to, build something enormous and fantastic, and I do that a lot, but sometimes you just want to do something small and pretty, and that's what we did today. So this particular build is a limited pack build. It has base game, obviously, and we have growing together, get together, and seasons, and that's it. That's it. So it should be pretty accessible for most people, I think. And yeah, let's see what we end up doing. So I'm just working on the roof. I have started this as just a basic L-shaped home, and yeah, so I'm just doing a little porch overhang with the roofing, and I have extended this so now it's more of a T-shape, a sideways T-shape at this stage. And I'm just doing a porch front and back, which I think is cute, and just putting in the stairs. So I'm using the Seasons stairs for this particular build, and just getting the roofing in there, which is pretty straightforward for just a smaller home, thankfully. Not too much time spent on the old roofing. So I'm just looking at the columns and just adjusting the little porch roof as well, and adding in, I think that's the Seasons fencing as well, actually. There I'm doing a little bar, like a little, it's not like a barbecue area, but it's just like a little seating area for outside around the back there, and just doing the roofs now. Just working out the colour that I want, so I've gone with the steel black, I think that is, and with a white trim. And I'm just adjusting that, and you'll notice that I changed the columns as well, just to a thinner, more basic column. The thicker columns just weren't working for me. As much as I love those growing together columns, they just weren't working for this particular build. So I'm doing a bit of terrain paint there, and doing a little pathway, and now I am working out what colour I want to do for the house. So I'm going with a beautiful mid brown, and I love this brown from the Growing Together pack, and using the different texture in the roofing area, in the roofing underside area. Now, it took me a little while just to work out what colour I wanted the roof to be and how I wanted to do that, but I decided to go brown on the roof and then white on the walls. So I did a completely different colour to what I originally planned to, and that's fine. That happens quite often to me in builds. So this is actually going to be a two bedroom starter home. So we're going to have the kitchen and dining off to the right, which is the bottom of the screen at the moment, just behind the front door. So you'll come in the front door entrance, and that'll be the kitchen dining kind of living area. And I'm just working out the bedrooms and how they're going to sit, and there's going to be a bathroom in between. So one of them is going to be a bedroom for like a newborn / infant. That's how I'm going to build it. And the second bedroom will be obviously the master bedroom, which will be a double bedroom for the parent / parents. So let's work on the furnishing on the inside. So I'm just putting in the kitchen basics, and it is a starter home, so it does have to be the cheaper stuff, although I did go a little bit more expensive on the counters, as I sometimes do, because sometimes it's nice to splash out on a nice counter in a starter home. And I'm not sticking quite to under 20,000, just around about the 20,000 mark, because by the time you add in like a couple of Sims and stuff, you should be able to afford this as a starter home, I think. So the hardest part about this build was actually working out the layout of the kitchen dining living area, so the big section through here, and how I wanted that to go, because it's quite a square, just like a little rectangular shape, and yeah, that ended up, and because I've got to have all those doors going into the rooms, it ended up making it quite tricky as to getting this layout right. So I fussed around with it a little bit, and then finally worked out that if I put like a couple of little half walls in behind the couch, that kind of gave me a separate living area. I didn't have the room, unfortunately, for a computer, which is what I did want to put in, but I just simply didn't have the room for it there. I mean, it is a little starter home, so you know, you're kind of working with what you got in terms of space. And then, so with the wall going in, they actually naturally just worked out where the table would go, which is quite good. And then I was left with quite a bit of space for a larger kitchen. So, hey, why not expand the kitchen? That's what I say. So went with a couple more counters that I would normally do for a starter house kitchen. So it's quite a big one, I think, which is quite good because it's going to be a good family home. And I'm just moving the good old rubbish bin off to the side there, so I can spread my wings a bit with the dining table and I'm in our little dining nook. And I did think about the size of the bathroom because having a little booger in the house means that we need to have a bath. I mean, you can technically wash them in the sink. I know this, but you know, you want to put them in the bath and give them a bubble bath and you can watch them splash and oh, it's so cute. Anyway, so I was working on the master bedroom, and I realized that it just simply wasn't big enough. If I was going to have 2 Sims in there and they wanted to woohoo or whatever, I needed to have both sides of the bed accessible. So I extended the size of the bedroom, the master bedroom, a little bit, just to give us some more room. And I'm just getting in because we've got the growing together pack, we can put in the playmat and the diaper changing tables, and we've got a bassinet, of course, and we're going to have a mat with some toys on there, because we're going to have a little mat with toys on there for the kiddies. Yeah. And it was, I think, just a cute little basic room, just some shelves with the extra bits and pieces on there. That's the, what is it? I can't remember the name of that particular little clutter item, but I use it all the time because it's quite useful in the old infant's room. It's got like the diapers and the moisturizer and stuff in there. Alright, and back to the bathroom. I'm just going to work on the layout there and add in some bits and pieces of clutter. So I'm using the growing together mirror there, but I'm just using the basic sink and toilet. And I think I went for a little bit more of an expensive potty. I don't think I used the cheap potty. And so just using the towel rack, putting in the towels. I love that we can now snap those towels onto there. I mean, that's amazing. And also being able to put clutter onto the sinks and the baths. I mean, it just makes such a difference when you're building, not having to fuss around with lifting things up and pulling things down and making things, you know, sit in funny places, you know. Makes a big difference. So I'm just going to work out the window placement on the baby's room, and I'm just using the growing together windows. I have to move that bookshelf though, won't I? I can't stay there. And I love those windows, and they look fantastic with the white, because it's got the contrasting light brown color on the inside, which works really nicely with our roof because that's a light brown, or sort of a mid brown, I should say. So yeah, so we're getting in the windows, and I mean, they aren't super expensive windows, but they aren't super cheap windows either. So I am splashing out a little bit on these fancy little windows, but I think it's worth it because it just makes the house a little bit more pretty. And the stained glass windows at the front, I think that's so cute. I love those stained glass windows, but they don't always fit the builds that I'm doing, so I haven't really used them much. So I was quite excited to get to use those, because I mean, I was going for like a modern cottage-y type vibe with a starter, so like with a touch of suburban in it. So hopefully I achieved that. Right, so just working on the colours of the flooring, and we're going for a nice light wood on the floor. And I did look at doing like a different colour, a different tiling on the floor in the kitchen, but it just didn't work. So yeah, went with that, and then it took a little bit of mucking around, but I finally got there with what I wanted on the walls, which was just ended up being a plain white and a nice rug in the middle of the floor, just to brighten up the floor a little bit, so there's not so much clutter clattering around. I did fuss around with the entertainment area a little bit because I wanted to make that something more like an entertainment area rather than just a TV on on a table. I mean, it kind of is just a TV on a table, but there's a little bit more around it, so I think that worked out a little bit nicer. And I'm just adding a plant to the kitchen. I didn't really have a lot of money for clutter, as you don't in starter builds, so you know, I think I did all right getting the amount of clutter that I did into the build. Having a little bit more flexibility with some with these extra packs, rather than just being a base game build, did help a little bit as well with keeping the pricing down with some of the accessories. And I didn't have like a super cheap bed in there either, so you know, I think I did all right there. So just adding a rug, a couple of rugs into the bathroom area, and that's just very blue and white. I didn't end up doing anything too fancy with the bedroom. It just ends up being pretty basic, but I was conscious of money at this stage. I know you can't see it on the screen, but I was checking it quite regularly, and I'm getting close to my limit of around about 20,000. I think I'd go just over that, so I didn't do too badly. I can spend a lot of money on landscaping very easily, which if you've watched any of my other build videos, you would have seen. So just getting the rubbish bin and the mailbox in, and looking at the landscaping options and how much money we have there. Adding a little bit of decoration to our cute little front porch area. Make it nice and welcoming for our guests, and I'm just putting a chair there in the corner. Voila! Look at that. And I remembered the high chair on the on the dining table. I forgot that. And something I don't often do but wish I did more is window boxes. Particularly on starter homes, I just never seem to have the money for them, but I was able to do quite a bit of decorations on this particular starter home. I didn't use debug or anything, so yeah, I think just having a few options, cheaper options with some of the packs made a difference, and I was able to afford a little bit more of the pretty stuff to make it a little pretty house. So just doing a bit of terrain paint, because you know that's free, so why not use that? And doing a pathway round to the front area. I will probably build out the garden around that. I like to do that, sort of do like a nice curvy path and then build the garden out around it. But obviously I am conscious of money, it being a starter home and all of that. So I will probably use some of the bigger gardening stuff just to pretty it up. And I mean, because it is that modern cottage vibe, I did want at least a bit of a garden, because what's a cottage without a garden, really? I mean, you gotta have a little garden, I think. So just adding in the hydrangeas and the little groupings of daisy, because I mean that's a nice cheap way just to add quite a lot of flowery volume. It's the best way to put that. And because the window boxes had the whites, the purples, and the pinks, I wanted to reflect that in the garden as well. So that's what I did, just to sort of match what I had done around the windows, around the front. So I thought that was super cute. And I'm just working on a little bit more terrain paint down the back, and just doing like a little rubbish area. And I'm just going to build out a bit more flowery. Let's try that again. A few more flower beds around the back, and I'm actually adding rocks. The rocks is something that I've never really used a lot of in gardens until recently. I've just sort of started playing around with them in gardens a little bit more, and yeah, I quite like it. It just adds a bit more authenticity to it, I think, which is nice. I mean, you want a bit of realism, and I'm adding a bit more purple with the lavender bushes around the back. I don't really put them in the front, but I put them around the back just to change it up from the hydrangeas, which is quite nice. But I'm gonna still add those in there too, because they're nice and bulky, and they don't cost too much as well. So they're a really good starter house flower. I like them as a starter house flower. And I did like a little path off to the side, as you can see there with the terrain paint, to the little pathway that runs along the canal there. And yeah, I think that ends up being quite a large garden for a starter home, because landscaping is not cheap. So I think I did pretty well there, just to fill up that space. I did look at adding those big round bushes in there, but they seemed a little bit too formal for the more wild garden vibe that I was going for with the cottage-y type house. So that got deleted, and I used the bracket BB move options cheat to make the plants bigger. So we're looking at that there for the final dollar value, thereabouts. And I'm just changing the mailbox because the real modern one just didn't quite work with that. Okay, look at that. That's our house. Isn't it cute? I think that looks really nice. So yeah, we've got the lovely little window boxes there, and we carried that through to the garden with the whites and the purples and the pinks, and I think that's really pretty. And as I said, that I was going for that modern sort of cottage-y suburban vibe, and I think we got there with that. I really like that, and I love that growing together stuff with the windows and the doors, and the brown and the white worked really nicely too, and it's got some nice contrast in it, which I think is really pretty. And I love that the seasons fencing and the stairs. I think those are really nice and worked with the vibe of the house quite nicely. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. I mean, I could probably maybe put a fireplace in and a chimney, but I think it's okay without it. You know, it's not super cottagey, but it's cottagey enough to get the vibe of it, I think. And there's still a bit of yard for the kids when they get older as well, to have a run around in the garden. So shall we take a look inside? Look at those stained glass windows. I think they're lovely. And we go straight into the kitchen and dining area, and we carried on a sort of like a pop of light blue throughout, just to do a bit of contrast to the white and the brown, and I think that worked quite nicely, and a little bit of grey in there as well. And so we go from the kitchen into our little entertainment area. So we've got our bookcases, our TV, our couch. I mean, I could have probably squeezed a computer in there, but that's okay. That's something you can work towards once you start living in the home, eh? So this is our infant/newborn room. So it has a bassinet in there at the moment, but it can obviously be changed out for a cot as they get a little bit older and age up. And I think that's cute. I wish I could have afforded the curtains in there. I mean, I could have done less landscaping, but I guess I prefer landscaping over curtains. So that's our bath and a bathroom, and we just did that in the white and the blue. Just kept it with the theme of the rest of the house, and I think that ended up being quite pretty for a starter bathroom. We've actually got a little bit of clutter in there, and we've got the really nice growing together mirror that I absolutely adore. And that's our master bedroom. As I said, that's pretty basic. I couldn't afford too much on that one, and so we've just got a nice end table and a decent bed actually. I didn't go with a cheap bed, so I think that's not too bad for a starter bedroom. Alright, well, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time, and don't forget to subscribe to me on YouTube, VelvettB. I am on Pinterest, VelvettB Sims, in the gallery, VelvettB, and I'll put this up in the gallery as well. Twitter, VelvettBYT, and TikTok, VelvettB there too. So plenty of places that you can find me. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!